Today on this mini theory, I am going to try and just discuss, it might be true, might not be true, and the likelihood of it being true is very low. And I know I'm going to get bashed and called all sorts of names, but I don't care. I'm going to go forth with this theory because I think the plausibility is high, but the actuality of it is very low. If that don't make sense, don't worry about it. Just check this out. So in the Loki trailer, we get a ton of reveals, but I want to focus on this one scene where it looks like Loki is sitting down with what we believe, or some of us believe, is Black Widow. Now, I know that there is a character in this show that has short hair, and some have attributed it to Lady Loki or the Enchantress. There's been so many names that have been popped out. But given the fact that we know what the premise of this show being and how Loki is trying to fix timelines, it makes no sense why this would be Lady Loki. Now, the argument against this being Black Widow has been that this doesn't look like Volmir, where she died. And I want everyone to stop for a second and remember what we've seen when people die. When Thanos snapped his fingers and he went to the soul world, he saw a young child Gamora. He didn't go to Volmir and see a death, skull crushed Gamora. So I think that you go to the place, or once you die, you go to a place that you're more familiar, or one of your more fondest memories that you can recall. Just like we saw when Thanos snapped, his injured arm and the injury in his chest were no longer. So he went, obviously he thought himself to be a savior and a messiah in a way, and he wasn't injured. Even in the deleted scene where we see Tony Stark go in, talk to his daughter, or the deleted scene, I haven't seen it. And I have the TVs, but I'm assuming this is true. So if it's not, let me know down in the comments. But when he did go into the soul world, he saw a grown-up version of his daughter, even though his daughter was not dead. So I'm assuming that's why they took it off and didn't show it, because it wouldn't make sense. So it takes us back to Scarlett Johansson. We know, and we've been knowing, that she was part of an assassins, group that trained her in all the forms and fighting styles that she, learned from. And it was a very, very horrible group. Now, Black Widow movie should have been out already, and we should have seen the prequel as to what we all expect is losing her actual adopted family. Not her real life family, but the one she was forced to live while she was being trained in the Black Widow Corps, or as a Black Widow. And we see in some of the trailers the destruction that we're seeing. So then after that, in one of these trailers, we see the part where she jumps out of the plane and she's gonna have what seems to be a mid-air fight. So I'm proposing that it's a mixture of both what we're going to see in Black Widow and a little bit of what she remembers in Avengers, Infinity War, and Volmir. All these things, because she has no real sense of normalcy. Her whole life has been everything, pretty horrible. When she was talking to Banner in the shower scene about how she was sterilized, how she was taken at a young age, her whole life has been nothing but pain and disappointment. At least with Gamora, she still remembers her family, her young, when she was little, and we saw a little bit about that in Infinity War, where she asked, Peter to kill her. But she recalls that memory very vividly. The same thing when, like I said, with Thanos and anybody that enters into the soul world. So I think that this is Scarlett Johansson kind of in the in-between world, where she's not fully in the soul world, she's not fully in resting in peace, as you will, but she's in this almost trance-like, because if you see the trailer, there's stuff going around them, and it almost looks like her and Loki, if it is Black Widow or whoever this is, almost in a trance, like they're just stuck in limbo, which is one of the things that would happen even in Christianity. In a Christian sect, they say that when you commit suicide or when you kill yourself, you don't go to heaven or hell, you just kind of lay in limbo. And that's what this kind of seems. So what I'm proposing is, since the show is based on fixing the timelines, Black Widow is one of those timelines that has to be fixed, because she was never meant to die. The person that was meant to die in Volmir was Hawkeye. He was the one that jumped and was already on his way, had committed fully, but it was Black Widow's intervention that stopped that the timeline for happening correctly. And she then exchanged herself to kill herself for the betterment of Hawkeye and his family. But I believe that the correct timeline is we should still have Black Widow alive, and Hawkeye should have sacrificed himself for the love that he had for Black Widow and their friendship, or like other people propose, maybe a little something extra, we don't know, but we'll stick with what we do know is that they had a very strong bond with Natasha, trying to keep Hawkeye alive for the family. I mean, she was the aunt of Hawkeye's kids. But I think the easier explanation is that Black Widow never needed to die, but the fact that she did branched out into its own reality, because it changed the events, it changed everything moving forward. Her story was ended too prematurely, which I think the show Hawkeye might deal with that. There's already rumors that the star of Hawkeye is not really going to be it. This is an introduction to his daughter taking on the mantle of Hawkeye. So I think if you add that show into the mix, it becomes a lot more probable that we are going to lose Hawkeye, because Black Widow or Loki is going to have to fix that timeline, and somehow is going to have to bring Natasha back. But in doing that, the sacrifice still has to hold true, or else the events of Endgame don't happen. So the sacrifice then has to be Hawkeye, unfortunately, because I think Loki is going to show Scarlet, or force Scarlet, because Scarlet is not going to want to do it. He's going to have to force her to do it for the betterment of the universe, for the betterment of everything. That is my theory, that Black Widow had to live and Hawkeye had to die. Let me know what you guys think about this theory. Am I insane? Am I completely wrong? What names are you guys gonna call me after this one? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And like always, that's a wrap.